bottom thing keeps showing. Hold on. Come on. Go down. Thank you. So, I wanted to put something out there. Of course. Kind of take my space here. There's a there's things I want to adjust. Um, Along with that, things I want to express. Um, I can get myself riled up. Then you set up all the little fancy things you got around you. You sit down. I guess you needed more processing. Or need more processing. I guess. But I just want to keep the camera rolling. I feel like I feel like this makes sense. Just kind of take my space with it. Not really rush into anything. I reached a point where I put out everything I wanted to put out. And I think that's an overall positive because whatever I do, and I think that's what the Night 23 series is. I think it's important, not important, but I think for me, labeling things, not because, well, not just because it might be generally a nice way to organize um, projects and activities. But that those things should have, not should, but like, in the case of what I titled these videos, that there's a reason why I title them the way I title. I don't just title things. I have a reason why I title them the way I title them. And in terms of the videos I put out there, I title them as such because each one of these titles are, in the case of like Night 23, if not that, then you got the beta variant or anything that's not necessarily titled. And again, it's not so much that whether we're titling a video or just kind of a certain kind of theme going on with whatever variety of videos I'm releasing. Because the first series is the first series, but there's an objective to that first series. There's something I actually want to do. I want to talk about the adult industry. I want to talk about sex in a general way. There's things, not so many things, but just like there are things I wanted to discuss, specific things, and there's things that I want to talk about with me, whether it's through the viewing of other videos like reaction videos or just general discussion videos, maybe something going on. but there's like an objective. There's certain specific things I want to put out there, and then it's like general stuff. Like it's like attaching the adult industry into things that grab my interest, like movie reviews, or television reviews, some kind of entertainment. I like the idea of reviewing them because I like talking about them. So the idea of reviewing them is very seemed very natural. So actually, getting into these things is like one of the first things. Getting into these movies and television shows, maybe not as an ambition, but more of there. I virtually don't think I've ever really had an ambition. I think I just have. I think I have ambition, but I think I just have nerve and um, maybe an overactive imagination, and only overactive. And I'm thankful I didn't really have any expectations, or that's just not in my history. Um, and my imagination can really be anything. Um, maybe it's not that I want to be in those movies, but more of whatever those movies are about. Um, maybe in some way I just want to actually be the characters in it. Not so much that I want to be like I don't know. There's something about like I don't want to like be in some kind of art project in which I'm simply a figure that's representing something. Why not just actually be in the adventure itself? You can add in your own soundtrack. You can think this is a production, or at least take away from it what productions want you to feel. Like you want your audience to feel like this is an epic, this is an adventure, this is a romantic story, this is something. And I think an adventure is practically and only practically uh, is priceless. It is. An adventure is priceless. What you're trying to get in the adventure may not be. It might cost you to climb that mountain, but it's one thing to go, I want to climb Mount Everest, and so the adventure is trying to do that. And so you got things like how do I go about this training, and how much is it going to cost me? I mean, that's part of the adventure, but the adventure itself is priceless. It's getting to the thing you want. Because the adventure could be you trying to sneak into the thing, and the adventure doesn't mean that you have to do it one way, And it's not really about the overall goal. It shouldn't be about the ambition. The ambition can be the adventure. I mean, these things don't have to be the same. It's kind of the point. It's like these things can stand on their own. I'm not really about ambition. Or I've discovered that I'm not really an ambitious person, I'm an adventurous person. Luckily, I can be very content. Luckily, it's actually kind of nice. It's almost like it feels like a gift that I can be content. I don't have to have things. I'm a very kind of like a akin to a minimalist. Like I'm not deliberately trying to not be materialistic. I think because I don't have this like division. I don't have like a childhood and adulthood. I don't have that. I don't really even I don't really age myself. I don't really use canonical language that much. Like unironically, um, I just I'm just kind of the same person. There's this like frequency. Like I've never really had like if I talk to people and I bring people up, people always like, oh my god, I haven't thought of that. Right? I'm always because I'm always the same person. I've never changed. I've only expanded things. I've expanded my music. I've expanded the things I enjoy doing. Um, and there's incidental things like making money, uh, finding positions where you can afford to be in the places that you want to live. Those are incidental. That's not what my existence. I mean, that's not the way I define my existence. I don't define my existence by anything. I think it's kind of the idea. I think that's the point. Is everything is just it's like playing with your toys. It's just kind of everything is just kind of this flowing potential. It's not. I guess this is where the whole Peter Pan sort of, at least with me, it's my comparison. Not directly, just I recognize that there was. It's funny because the only Peter Pan movie if actually have on record is that fuck. I'll put it on screen somewhere, but it's that version. It's the one that came out like kind of around that Lord of the Rings. I think maybe the third movie came out, and then that movie came out. Um, it's out. It's on record, and that's the only one I've really seen. Okay, I've seen Hook, but I, what I'm trying to communicate is just that Peter Pan is not like something I track. It's just I pick things up. This is what I mean. You can get me mixed up as someone's like, "Oh, you must have grew up with it." No, not really. I just have an active. I just can do that. I don't know, like anyone else really. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know how I come across to the common clay. I don't know how I come across to people. Again, something I kind of like as a blessing. I don't really know how I come across. Um, I don't really want to know what people think of me that much. It starts off with I'm already content with me, so I don't really need anyone's opinions. But if I hear any, it's like it's like in one space it's super easy because I'm pretty aloof to people, and then there's other points where I have the ability or feel like I'm more in that region where I can start accept or hearing it in but I don't know. It's like I've never really heard it though. I don't know. And I don't know if I'm just being spared or just I don't know maybe. And the weird thing I kind of like the idea of not really being the main character. The idea of being like a foil or some kind of supportive character. Like a franchise character that's like he's the title of it. And again, that guy can represent anybody. But to also know if you're being honest with yourself, what your place would be in that society. I like that kind of character. A character that, yeah, technically it's my world, and yes, this is my title, but I know I don't really. I know if I'm being honest, I wouldn't be the main person in the actual. Like maybe in so many ways, the genie is the franchisees of Aladdin. Aladdin's a title character, but the genie might be the best thing about the show. And there's situations where you can imagine like a lot of Bugs Bunny cartoons. Well, Bugs Bunny is the foil. He's not necessarily the one they run. He doesn't actually he doesn't actually he doesn't lead the plot, but he's involved in the main characters. He's usually the foil to the main character, Elmer Fudd or something like that. I don't even know why I'm talking about this because well, I mean it's a video and I'm talking about myself, but I wanted to talk about the fact that as far as my journey in at least in these videos on these platforms here on the internet, that I've I think I've between the first series, second series, the beta variant, and this ongoing Night 23. It's why like there's a direction, there's a objective to those two series. One is just like okay, these are the most direct things I can do. The beta variant is that okay, I'm pretty sure that's over, but I can expand that and just like attribute the same sort of style to these sort of subjects around the adult industry or the around sex in general. And then you have the Night 23 series, which is just kind of a series of. It's just me. Well, it's just. It's like an open space. It's like It's like an era, maybe like the Attitude Era of like wrestling. We're talking like pro wrestling stuff. Maybe this is like the Attitude Era. Maybe this is like what they call the Ruthless Aggression Era. You know, just one of those things where it's just an era, right? And in this era, it's just like whatever the fuck you want to do. That's kind of what Night 23 is. Just versatility. Just kind of do different things, I guess. But I really like that I've completed everything I wanted to say. I think it means that in the end, there's still things that I'm doing. But to me, it's like those things are in the bag, you know, because they are, you know, they're on this way or they're there. Um, those things are already kind of set up, so all I gotta do is just complete them and put them out there. After that, I mean, it was already kind of done, right? Um, so I like the idea that anything I do is just going to be new. And I like this kind of place as like a stable. Black Clouds Media, I've said this before, is so many different things. And this is just one thing that's been, or is, in this space, but that's it. Space is an entire scope, the journey. And this is just a part of it, right? But I like that I like that I've said everything I wanted to say in terms of like these are things that I needed to say, and I've said it. So it's all gonna be it's gonna be kind of additional, and it's gonna be trying different things. You know what's interesting? Without sounding like it's like a goal or something, because it really isn't. But I feel like being commentary on this is it's almost ironic not to bring it up this way. I don't think I've ever really talked about the prospects of a John Turbo going into the adult industry. Maybe not prospect, but just the idea of it, you know? I don't think it's necessary. And then as the idea that like you don't need to, because here's what happens. This is the problem with ambition. I don't really like ambition. Ambition isn't about I want to try to do this thing. It's I have a goal. There's something I want, and I'm making a goal out of it. You can want something without it being an ambition. You can want something and turn into an adventure, some kind of nerve, without actually having it being an ambition. Ambition is just really about success. It boils down, it's just about success. It's about just getting something done like a goal, right? Now, you can make it ironic and go like my ambition is just to be content. My ambition is just to be happy, right? You can make it about anything and it could be ironic, right? But I mean, if we're being honest, those things usually depend on approval and appeal. If you think about the goals that you set, things you know, things you wanted to be, and I say that because I don't know. Something about we overemphasize certain labels. Like you want to be a scientist, you can be a scientist without technically getting a degree. I mean, you can have all the attributions, you can have all the skills and attributions to being a scientist without getting the actual degree. You have enough information out there to just do that. You could just be interested in that subject and do that. But no, you need a paper in order to actually. And it's funny because you know people be looking at me. They'll look at me like like I'm talking like fucking alien hieroglyphs. But like you know that like some of the what they call the greatest scientists on record are self-taught. Some of the people who have gone out of their way to do shit are self-taught, and the reason it's kind of obvious. One, either the subject isn't really like um, aerodynamics. A lot of people in the fields in the beginning didn't have degrees and shit because these things were just they weren't established. So these things had to be established first. No, they got no goddamn degree in it. Or even if they did, it's not really important. You guys ever heard masters and Johnsons and masters and shit? There's a lot of things that they're able to do. One of them didn't even have a degree. I think one of them had maybe an associate's. One had, you know, I think one of them was sexual. I don't even think they were even sexologists. Well, one of them had a medical degree, the other one didn't, and it didn't even matter. It's not important. You know, it's like they want you to focus. Like, how discouraging is it? Like you talk about like college and some of these kind of ambitions, and like it depends so much on people saying yes to you, or some kind of paper giving you the to give you access to information or feeling that make you feel like that information is not valuable unless you're doing it for some kind of program. And that's kind of sad because how many people would have could people that just would have had more incentive to go become scientists on their own merit if it wasn't for the accolade. No, I'm not saying, but if it's like if you can prove by your own admission that you can do this, and again, like unfortunately, that's another thing about living in these grand societies. That's probably the issue. Is like we live in these big grand societies, something that nature never asked you to do. No one asked you to make these grand societies. So now we have it's like the question of like how legitimate is each one coming in like that that's the problem with some of these like all right, we're talking about something that was created by humans, right? Yes, I'm talking like that because in the end that's kind of the point, or rather it's something that you could ignore because your life is about your occupation, your family, and these grand societies and a luxury that you're trying to get to, and it's just like you can acknowledge that life is objectively meaningless. You can acknowledge that all this stuff that you want is just stuff that was created by humans in these like high more I mean most of the stuff that people want are like what's a phrase or a great word for it? High concept ideas like becoming a medical doctor. It's a high concept ideas that is established through all these integral means, huge things that only could have happened if it through these very very crazy circumstances of individuals coming with these breakthroughs that allowed for more research and more people being hired to contribute to that research or helping those people or whatever, right? So there are these very, very high concept things that people want as if those things are natural or basic things, but they're not. I just find that some of it's like there's this big grand illusion that we all sort of willfully went into. We're born into this sort of illusion, and we believe in these things, and we we have these hierarchies, and it's just I don't think it should depend on I just not when you have to question like if you're going to if you have like ambitions, like what are these ambitions about? Like what are you trying to do? Are you trying to make breakthroughs? Which again, are you putting your livelihood on it? Like are you and does that ambition does it depend on people? Like it depends on like you have a brain, right? You depend on this other brain to do something. You know what I mean? Like it's like you live in this suit thing and you happen to be a social creature. It just I think I'm speaking these very, very, very specific ways because I'm trying to get that point across. Like, there's something kind of absurd, not absurd. I mean, we're social creatures. It's just, it's like you know that the person doesn't have to do that, right? You know that he doesn't have to say yes to you. You know this institution. Like, how can you look at that history with people straight up not being able to do the thing because of this color of their skin or something, or all these kind of really, really convoluted ethics and shit, which in many cases are understandable, but still. And we're not even really talking about morality. We're mostly talking about just in terms of even though ethics is technically ethics is about morality, it's more like it's about social consideration, which is what really goes into ethics, and less about something being bad or good. It's about the discussion of what's an overall positive or negative. And in terms of definitions, we can decide that evil and good are just like words, but most people use them. Like there are a lot of power phrases out there. I mean, this is it's like people don't heed the danger of being social animals like this, so there's just these hyper sort of channels through these really grand concepts too, like social media and just things that like we're at a point where we treat this shit like it's war. Like there's something like I you don't know, but like I don't really believe in generations, and I understand that the reason why there are such things is because concepts have evolved to become norm things, which give you this illusion that there's a difference between you and the so-called baby boomer or the so-called Gen X or the so-called millennial or Gen Z or whatever the fuck they want to call these people, and that these differences are so minuscule and almost non-existent and completely arbitrary, and the fact that these people just like you should hear about like the people who came up with this shit, they were arbitrary, they were made to just sell to you, most of these, or like an author wrote a book and used the phrase to just identify what they're seeing in people. Which again, if you look throughout history, I don't know, like it just provides to say like what people like say about the a lot. Juvenoia is very natural. So when people talk about these young folks and it's like that's just juvenile. You see this throughout. There's no such thing as a generation. We all do the same shit. It's just about what machines or what advances in not even manner. I feel like the manner is relatively the same. Whether that manner is violence or whatever, the manner is in terms of context. Like whether it's like looking at someone and there's this like sense that you don't understand them, even though they're doing the same shit. Like I don't know, something about people. You got things. We got these templates, right? Like the '60s and '70s. They're not real things. They're just like concepts because even though here's the thing, like the past is not real, right? There's no such thing as the past in the sense that it's like a series of records. A camera does what the brain does. It captures and it can ruminate things and just captures stuff that's there. That's it. What the brain does for the most part, and that thus is just there, right? And then we throw numbers at it, and there you go. The past. It's not really the past. It's a record of some. It's like it's a thing of like humans. Again, this is one of those things where like humans like to think of themselves. One, they don't even see themselves as animals. Also, they like to think of themselves as more significant than rock. Like the differences between you, like a rock. Like if someone took a picture of a rock that had fallen over or recorded a rock falling over, it's no more significant than you getting shot. Because of course it's not. According to who? What? And even if there is that, like, so what? Like, this is the thing. Like when people say, like, well, whether there is a meaning, whether there is, I don't even know what that means. Like if you think about it, like use it logically. Like just go down that rabbit hole and just try to figure out like what exactly would that would actually mean. Who gives a shit? Does it make? I mean, people look at life in a linear way when it's not. I mean, life is not even linear. Like when people say shit like life is too short, is it though? Have you? Is it though? Or is it because you have a brain and you have you live in patterns and sequences and routines? I mean, I don't even know. Like, is it though, or is it because you just have a really strong memory? And I mean, I don't know. I get the sentiment. It's more like the effects of life makes it seem like there's not enough of it, right? Even though it does, even though it's not linear, you're alive, so I don't know what that means. People make their life. People. One thing I'm like proud of, and I'm only proud of this because I've been this consistent. I've never like judged anyone based on their fucking age process. I don't even believe in age in the sense of like I have to make this shit so important. I never got that shit. That was weird that people like either acknowledge your own fucking age or like you're alive, you breathe. I don't know what are you gonna fucking run or something? Like what is your life about? Is your life is your existence? Is your conscious? And you're like in your one fucking animal fucking socket. You're one entity. The fact that other people have sex, that's why they're alive. Like people, I get that we're social creatures. It's just I don't know. I think I don't know. Maybe this is how asocial I am. I got to a point where I'm I don't know. But these are my thoughts. It's the way I think. You know what it is? It's like you go to the schoolyard and you're off. You're asocial. You're asocial. You're a fucking cougar. You're just a panther. You're just asocial. You these are just words so you understand. And you're off and you do your own thing and you just observe everyone else around you. And you're mostly aloof to all of it. And then you start to learn. You start to pick up on shit and the way that people think, the way certain people say things. And you somehow the foresight. I guess just being asocial. It's not about being better, or it's not. It's literally just like an alien looking at other fucking creatures of the land and just observing the way people are. I amused it and I thought it was funny and I thought it was kind of cute in some way. Like you just amuse it. I don't know. What does it have to do with the adult industry? The adult industry is just like an activity. It's like it's an incidental thing. Um, well, you know what, Lee? Hey, you know what? Yeah, you know what? Let's just get back to what I was talking about. Um, the I'm not gonna say prospect. I'm gonna say like the idea of me going in the industry. I have the all right. So this is related to a point I was so saying like I'm not really an ambitious person, very adventurous. I got nerve, but and I tend to go into things in fields. Um, can't help but to feel like in some way I'm not supposed to be there, and I'm fine with that. And I try to exist among that crowd, whatever it is. And remember, I'm already asocial, so I already have a solitary preference. I already kind of want to be by myself. I don't really want to be around people that much. I it feels like there's a choice in like I'm not upset by it. I know that in some way it almost means that like because of that nature that and I'm not talking about introversion either. Introversion and asocial is not necessarily the same thing. Introversion is more of what society and how much of it do you is necessary. It asocial is just a description. It's not specific. It's more of like an overall description of what you are socially. If you're asocial, you just have a overall interest in being alone. That can mean a lot of different. This mean like alone. Alone can mean different things. Like alone could be you can be by yourself, but not feeling alone. You have your own world. You have your own society. It's like for me, it's like a society built up of just one. I have my own I guess my own not laws, but just like my own sanctions, my own um, do's and don'ts, my own sort of philosophies. Like I don't even use canonical language. Like this is why I think the way I think, or I contribute to that because I'm very social. I have my own world. Really, seriously, have my own world. Again, I don't have a childhood and adulthood. I don't. I'm just the same person. And I don't know what people are talking about when they say their childhood. I don't even know what that means. I never really understood that. I don't know what that means. Like I don't know the difference between what is a child and what an adult is. I can only get it from a like when I look at an offspring of a certain demographic. Boom. When I'm talking about myself, like I think when they talk about me, it's like I don't remember ever being one. I think I was just myself, and I would like to think that most people think that. I don't know. I think in retrospect they say like, "Well, my child is like, what does that mean? Like, you mean what? Like what?" I don't know. I'm just the same person. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I feel like I don't know. It's just hard to explain. I'm just the same person. Um, but I live in my own society, and in this society, my adventures are mostly internal. They're mostly mental. All adventures from here are just mental. But in a stylized way, they could involve getting into other people's shit, and that's why I mean I've personally called myself the Trojan Wolf because that's what it felt like. It felt like I was just like infiltrating all these fucking places. So I didn't belong there. I don't belong there. I'm not that. I'm not any of these things. I'm not anything really. I'm just. I have to get comfort. I can, it feel some instances I feel like I don't even know why. I don't know. Because it's also like that. You're just the same person, you know. And everything I experienced with the Common Clay I've already reached that full potential with the Common Clay. I've done everything I want with the Common Clay. Non-magic folks, for people who don't know what I'm talking about. So, going into the, I guess these additional activities. Pro entertainer. I like to call myself. Um, I mean for myself. I really don't have an audience. I entertain myself. But I go into these different arenas and I just do shit. I was gonna do a Joker reference. I ain't going to though. I'm like a dog chasing cars. I don't even do it if I caught him. I just do things. Anyway, so the idea of going into, I don't know. I wonder if I would. Do I want to talk about it? Yeah, let's do this. They say the easiest way for males to get into the adult industry. Not what they say, but what I put together is what I gathered. Using these words. The easiest way is to go about the same way women go into the industry. The same way. Appeal to men. Makes sense. If you want to get into the industry, just appeal to men. Whether you're gay or bisexual or somewhere on the spectrum, straight, appeal to men. Not quite like just going into a military office, but a little easier. Makes sense, right? You can, obviously, like in terms of this is all, but I'm about to go on here and talk about how much. But I don't know. I wonder what that would be like going into the. I don't even know. I would be. I think I can imagine what that would be like. No, not necessarily being in, but just like it would be like a bunch of, you know, pretending like I know what I'm doing. You know, like I'm sure most people who go into the adult industry, and I mean like uh, in a sense, like with platforms like this is like on your own fruition, like depending on the audience. I don't even know. Like the differences between like going into like companies and like all these starter. I don't even know what they call this. Like as I'm saying, like most of these people on this platform are just it feels like they're just hobbyists, man. Just because I don't think a lot of people earn that much, if any, on this platform, and that's that's great actually. But I, I'm kind of worried. Like, what are they doing this for? Is it just maybe they're just hobbies? Maybe I don't know. I have to say shit like that because like I don't know. I need them to. I don't know. I like the idea of them just doing it, but also like oh, it's I feel I can talk about that about that very thing about people going in, on this. A lot of people like to keep their anonymity, so they like to keep themselves. They don't they cover their faces and shit. So yeah, probably more of that than like people revealing their face. So whatever, right?